Hello and welcome to Blue Girls Video Podcast. So I'm going to be discussing dreams of November 2020. The first one is train tracks. I don't know why I'm thinking of the song David Bowie's Blue Jean. Okay. All I can remember is seeing a small beach on a sunny day and no one is at the beach. It looks like the view from someone's house. It also reminds me of the hidden or nude beach that I used to go to in my early 20s in real life. So when I was in my 20s, we used to go to this beach. I may have mentioned it before once. But it was, they would call it the nude beach. Most people weren't nude or whatever, but some people would go topless every now and then, I guess, or whatever. But I never did that. So anyway, and that's what the name of the beach was. Okay, so while I was trying to get asleep the other night, a young woman was talking to me a little bit. I couldn't hear what she was saying. Then just a little bit ago, late in the morning, I heard the word K, or it could be K like the name, since I know a real K from high school in real life. Then a little later, the hisser came around. Okay, so the next thing is no dreams, but thought once I got a small bill, you're fired. This is November 3rd, 2020. One of my friends recently told me that I'm too superstitious, which I suppose is somewhat true. I guess I'd rather be that than too paranoid. So I guess I heard it through the grapevine or whatever that Irish people can be superstitious. So maybe it's the Irish for me. I don't know. Okay, so I had a bizarre day and somewhat frustrating. First, I was trying to catch a bus to go to a store and was waiting at a bus stop. Well, this bus stop had a car parked right in front of it. So the bus driver on by, even though I was flagging her down and following the bus. Bus comes once an hour, so really didn't want to miss it. I wonder where this is at. Then when I finally got to the store, I had to go pick up an order. The location was changed, so I had to go to the side of the building. Oh, okay. This is in real life. This is in the upper Midwest, and this part is in a dream. I don't know why I wrote this. So then the guy who brought out the order mentioned about going to a different area so cars could see me. So I thought it was odd that in the same day a bus driver drove right by me. Then this guy was mentioning about cars not seeing me. Also last week, a young guy on the bus who got hit by a car when he was on his bike, ODD. I don't know what that means. Anyway, sometimes I write this strange stuff, and for the most part, I don't really include it in the blog just because it's kind of not really definite. It's just my thoughts. And so anyway, so here's the dream. It's called Train Tracks. I had a couple of dreams. One I cannot remember, and then the other, well, I'm not for sure if it's a current dream or a forgotten dream. I remember being alone in an underground train station with two train tracks. The directions, one train hand on the 6 o'clock and the other train hand on the 8 o'clock. No one else was at the train station waiting for a train. I'm not for sure the location. It wasn't New York, of course, because I was alone. Maybe Boston. It was clean, maybe Chicago, semi-clean. It also could be a city that I have never visited. Also, I don't recall seeing any trains, so maybe I have to wait a long time for the next one. Okay, so I was basically at the train tracks, obviously, and I was trying to figure out which ones, if it was New York or Chicago or Boston. New York and Chicago are kind of dirty. I think New York is even dirtier. But Boston, I thought that their trains, from my experience, like personally, not a dream, were clean. So that's good to know. And of course, Seattle, they were pretty clean out there too. So anyway, so all I'm seeing is I'm just sitting here waiting for a train. That's what it looks like to me. And then BFF. I went back to sleep in some more dreams. There are two preteens that are BFFs and seem to be really happy and smiling. They are just hanging out with each other. Later, I see a Facebook message. I hate when that happens. In dream that a man sent someone. It says, "I miss you," with some kind of emoji, possibly a butterfly. Yeah. So I showed my friend this. I was the one who got the message, and my friend he's a long-time friend, this is like in real life, he thought it was a girl that sent me a message. So anyway, so the next dream is going to be twin cousin M. I was with my cousin Emma, who lives in a different state. Well, at least it looked like her. She had long, dark hair. She mentioned some town, city, which I never heard of and had no idea of location. She said California, so I was like, oh, California. There was some other guy running around, running his mouth, and mentioned some other unheard of town, cities that he thought I'd take off to visit, which really wasn't true. I think there is more to the stream, but cannot remember. Moving by itself. I just had the strangest dream during a nap. I had all my items piled up in the center of the room like I was actually to do in real life for a pest control tomorrow. So in this dream, in his pile was possibly some boots or shoes that started physically moving by itself while talking on the phone. Okay, so I was talking on the phone and the boots or shoes started moving by itself. The pile looked differently than my real life pile. So that's a little weird. So maybe there was something in the boots, like pest, because it's pest control. Okay. Knight and shining armor. I had a dream about a former friend in a former city that I used to live many, many years ago. It was warmer weather, either spring or fall time of the year. We were both walking around town, which we used to do a lot when I lived in this former city. I don't remember us talking to each other, but just walking around town. I used to call this guy my knight in shining armor. When I was in my early 20s, and for the longest time, he used to walk like a soldier. Okay, so this former friend of mine, he used to physically walk like a soldier. And he told me one time he had a dream that he was a German soldier, and he was sick. And so when he woke up in real life, he actually was sick. And that happened to me one time in a dream. I was sick, and then when I woke up the next day, I was sick in real life. So he used to walk like he was a soldier for the longest time. And then he stopped, and then it's kind of stopped or whatever. You couldn't really tell he was a soldier, but I used to call him the knight in shining armor because he's kind of like, I think his name is Holden, and what's the name of that book? The Catcher in the Rye. Trying to, Holden was, I think that was his name, the character, trying to catch his sister and whoever else from falling off the cliff. Kind of a knight in shining armor. So that's why I called him that, because he was kind of like that. Okay, so a sit down. There was this African-American woman sitting at her desk in her office room. She had an unusual looking face. Like not a lot of people look like her. I was sitting in front of her, so her face was pretty clear. Then I was at a young African-American guy's place for some reason. Okay, so the next dream is elaborate hotel. I may have been in this dream. I was helping fix a little girl's bike and then returned item back to her. The girl was around age 9 or 10 with light brown hair. Then I was in a hotel, possibly in Vegas, not sure, but it was pretty elaborate hotel that had all kinds of amenities. I might have been meeting my high school friend, her husband there. They had their own hotel room. I think I got there late at night and was hanging out in the different areas of hotel. When I got into my room, there were a couple of issues, like I forgot to bring this or that. That is the end of the trip. I don't recall actually seeing my friends there or any outside scenery at all. So all I remember of this dream was a guy opening his mouth and then almost screaming like, but I couldn't hear him scream in the dream. Kelsey. I can see my cousin in this dream, plus I am getting the name Kelsey. Doesn't say which cousin. The pickup at a hotel. An odd dream. I was staying or living at a motel or an apartment. It looks like an apartment that I looked at in Arizona many years ago. It is set up like a motel with a string of hotels on 2 different levels. Then I see me walking out of a motel without a coat while my brother is walking or waiting outside in his car to pick me up to go God only knows where. Then the dream changes. And there's a story in the newspaper regarding some emergency. I can see a car and the police sirens in the background. I don't think anyone got hurt, but this is what I see in my dream. Okay, so the next dream is nowhere. Say hello. Say hello. Look at him. What are you doing? I had a dream, and one of my brothers was around me. I recall writing down some phone number on a yellow post note. I heard in my dream someone is going to die. I was trying to figure out who. Several of my older relatives have died within the last couple of years, all being in January and February. Plus now one of my aunts has tested positive for the coronavirus. Yeah, so this is true. I had, I'm not for sure which one, but they all died. Okay, I think it may have been my aunt or my uncle that passed away first, and then within a year of each other, and then 2 years later, my aunt that I was really close to passed away. Okay, so I guess there's more to the stream. Then I'm in a small town with nothing around. It looks like the Midwest, but not for sure because no one is wearing coats. I have noticed in my dreams that people in my dreams rarely wear coats, even if it's snowing where I am currently living, and no one has been wearing mask in dreams either, even though it's mandatory in public spaces where I live. Group of friends. I woke with a panic attack, which is rare but does occasionally happen. I am having some anxiety about an upcoming trip, and sometimes I think I can sense things, so I can get anxious. It may have nothing to do with the trip. November 23rd, 2020. I wonder where I was going. So sometimes, I get anxious with if it's an area that I've never been to. Like I've traveled to the Southwest or Pacific Northwest, but when I go out east to make plans out there, I get kind of nervous. I just went to Tennessee, and it was really hard the first day because I'm not, I'm not a young spring chicken. And so, I got tired or whatever and had some anxiety and whatever. So it's just harder for me to do that the older I get. But I wanted to go to Tennessee, and I'm glad I did, because the day that I got there in Memphis, Lisa Marie Presley died. I could not believe it. So I did go to the Graceland tour. I had that. I had a ticket for that, and then I wasn't able to go, and so I had a year to use it. So anyway, back to the dreams. So the dream that I had last night about a group of friends that were hanging out at a bar and drinking, they were all sitting down, have a conversation about different cities. This one guy to the farthest left mentioned a city in the Southwest, a former place that once lived. So a girl from the farthest right was a little surprised and mentioned about all they do is drink there. So the guy to the farthest left responded by physically drinking his beer or whatever he was drinking. Okay, well, obviously that's the state of Nevada. I mean, it could be anywhere, but actually Reno has the most alcoholics, which is a surprise, but that's true. The guy also mentioned a city that have been recently been wanting to travel. The group broke up and went its separate ways, but the girl wanted to still talk to him about his interest in traveling. Real behind the scenes. Read behind the scenes. Okay, never mind. Making plans. Okay, a lot of activity going on behind the scenes. I was planning a Greyhound and wanted to see if it stopped by a certain stop. I went to this restaurant where the Mexican guy was on the phone. I would pay him 60 cents for a Mountain Dew so that I could use the computer. I couldn't remember my number. I called and it said, message. If you want to talk to a therapist, I wanted to stay with a friend on Monday or Tuesday and then leave on Friday. But last time I thought I'd stop by there. Something about sleeping all day to noon. I remember when I had this dream, I went to Joyce Meyer's conference in Portland, Oregon, and she mentioned the words behind the scene. And that God brought me there to the conference basically because I was going to be thrown out of my apartment. So yeah, I remember this. And that happened once when I went to a concert too. I heard the word spaghetti or whatever in my dream, and then the singer said spaghetti. And what is the likelihood of that, right? But anyway, yeah. So this pop thing, like when I would get it, it was like 50 cents, and then it was like right by a library. So I would go and either I don't know what I would do. I think I might have got the Mountain Dew before or after I went to the library. So yes, I have been to Joyce Meyer's twice. One in St. Paul, Minnesota. I think it was the XL Energy Center, and in Portland, Oregon. I took a train there at the time, and I did have her written down, and I did take notes of that. But she did say the words behind the scene, and the only thing that's behind the scene is when I'm being tossed out of an apartment, and that never happened, but came close, and you never know. Right? So that was interesting. I mean, Joyce Myers, she's well respected. She's high up as far as I'm concerned, as far as the church. Okay, so bizarre paranormal experiences. While I was lying down in bed trying to get asleep, I heard in a man's voice around 4:30 a.m. the number 9. Testify. I couldn't sleep last night, so while trying to get asleep, something blows warm air on me. This isn't the only time this has happened. Basically, something is trying to irritate me. So I think this something should pay for my heart surgery, that it won't be fun anymore. Oh, I was getting pissed off because this happened, I don't know how many times. I have shared I know this is dedicated to dreams, but I do write some paranormal stuff in there and some travel experiences. If I had my way, I would do as much travel as I could, but I just don't have the funds for that. It's not like I'm this young 20-something and know how to do all this technical stuff, and who wants to watch. I just don't know how to do it, and it's not like I can go bungee jumping or any fun stuff like that, So anyway, so I mentioned this in the other video, that I've had these, weird experiences. And so I would be like sleeping, and somebody, and it was a man, and he would go to wake me up, to irritate me, saying, oh, I'm here, But I don't know who it was. I never know who these people are when they do this. It's not even people. They could be dark energies. I don't know what. So last night while I was trying to get to sleep, here's another one. This thing starts semi-massaging the outer side of my leg from my thigh to my kneecap. In real life, I had an injury and fell down, so area of my kneecap was affected. This thing used heat to heal these areas. However, the bizarre part was the thing didn't have hands. So, yeah, I mentioned about Chicago and how that happened, and I was kind of freaked out about that. Somebody was doing kind of this heating stuff by areas that were bothering me. And so the next thing is, afterwards I saw this mist right in front of me, which I have seen several times before. So feeling threatened, I backhand this mist with my left arm, and the mist slowly floats up to the upper shelf of my closet. Then, while I finally get asleep again, right in front of me, I'm awakened by a noise. Then, another time by my ear. It wasn't the usual hiss sound or the growling like at my former apartment. I cannot remember the sound I heard. So, when I lived in the upper Midwest, I had increased paranormal experiences in a certain city. I mean, I've had them one time, there's been other times, but for whatever reason, I would have it there. And so, anyway, so let's see here. Okay, so the next dream is hostel rooms. Let's see here. Okay, so this is going to be the last one for November. So I think it's gonna be it for this stream. I try to, instead of rushing it, just kind of do like 1 month for each episode now. Okay, so hostel rooms. Then for my dream, there are about 18 twin beds on the floor of a female hostel room. It was a large room, almost like an auditorium. Then I was conscious in the dream and thought one of the girls stole my bed. Like I had all my stuff on this one dorm bed, although I did not see any of my items in dream. Later, I was thinking about how someone was holding my items, so couldn't really escape at the time. I also was going to confront the girl who stole my bed, but then I found out that she was deaf. Okay. Then there was a mixed bedroom of male and females with bunk beds. This one woman had her area kind of messy, and her female and male friend were supposed to go somewhere together. Okay. So I was staying at a hostel, and usually if I have to stay at a hostel, if I don't really have to, I try to go in at a hotel because I'm usually the oldest one there, and I don't really, I just don't really, I'd rather have my own hotel. But anyway, so like when I'm at a hostel, I will get the 6 or 4 female bed hostel. That's what I usually, if they have that available, that's what I usually do. I don't usually stay in 18. I just did earlier this year in Chicago, and it was just me and this other girl that were there. And, or maybe 2 other girls. So, anyway, I think probably a good part of people were probably staying in the haunted hotels, which I've done there. So anyway, it could be symbolic that this woman stole my bed, like apartment. So November 26, 2020. And then I found out she was deaf. So she had like a disability or something like me. But still, like people, they're supposed to do it in chronological order for apartments or low income. And there's certain things where you are higher priority. So, anyway, so that's the dream. And that is the end of November. Yeah, that's it. Okay, so thank you for watching Blue Girls Video Podcast.